If you play golf, you probably know the old saying, drive for show, putt for dough. Well, today we're really diving into that second part, the single easiest place to save strokes. We're talking putting, and specifically the most misunderstood club in the bag, the putter.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating, is this kind of paradox with putting. Unlike, say, bombing a drive 300 yards, which takes serious athleticism, putting is where, well, theoretically, even a weekend golfer could roll it just as well as a top tour pro on any given day.
Right. But getting that consistency day in, day out, especially when the pressure's on, that seems to hinge completely on something else.
It does. It hinges on whether that putter in your hands is actually engineered to match you, the player, and not just your stroke, but your whole setup.
Exactly. And we got hold of this incredible blueprint for today's deep dive. It's a super detailed breakdown from professional fitters. They identified, get this, 28 different variables that dictate how well you putt. 28. So our mission today is to unpack that, to show you why almost everyone, maybe even some pros, might be using the wrong putter.
Mm-hmm. And this really matters because we're not just looking at fixing a stroke flaw here. We're analyzing a whole system. You've got the biomechanics, how you stand, how you move. You've got the club itself. You've got the data. And it all has to align perfectly for you to be truly consistent. It's about understanding the tech behind a good roll.
Okay, so let's kick off with what the sources call the two most common and frankly shocking mistakes. Things that break your putting before you even swing. First up, loft. Why is it that so many golfers, maybe even instructors, often have no idea what the actual loft on their putter is?
It's a huge blind spot, yeah. And maybe a bit frustrating for fitters. It really comes down to physics. People kind of assume, oh, a putter face should be perfectly vertical, zero loft. But if it were zero,
What would happen?
well, the leading edge could dig into the green, or depending on your stroke, you might actually pop the ball straight up slightly. So you need a little bit of loft because the ball actually settles into a tiny depression on the green. Loft helps lift it out cleanly.
Ah, okay. So it's like a tiny little launch ramp, basically.
Precisely. But it's a fine balance.
Yeah.
Too little loft, and you drive the ball down into the turf first. That causes this ugly little bounce or skid. You lose energy, lose control.
Right.
Too much loft, and you launch it too high. It skids for longer before it starts rolling properly, end over end. So getting that loft right, it dictates the launch, the skid, and ultimately how quickly you get true roll. It's probably one of the most critical factors for distance control.
Okay, that makes sense. And the second massive basic error the fitters see constantly.
Length. Just golfers using putters that are completely the wrong length for their body and how they naturally stand to the ball.
How does that mess things up?
Well, think about it. Putter's too long. You stand up too tall. Maybe your eyes get pulled inside the target line. Your aim's off before you start. Putter's too short. Now you're hunched way over. That restricts your shoulder turn, makes you want to use your hands and wrists more. So the length influences your posture, your eye position, your potential stroke path, even your tempo. It's fundamental.
Wow. So using the wrong length basically means you're fighting the equipment from the very beginning. You're compromising before you even take it back.
You absolutely are. And that's why the whole point of a professional fitting isn't really about forcing you into some textbook perfect stroke. It's about making sure the putter's basic design, the loft, the length, the lie angle matches your physical build, your natural tendencies. You want the putter working with you, not making you compensate.
Okay, that tees up the next part perfectly, the hardware itself. Let's move beyond just loft and length. We need to dig into the factors that really change the feel of the putter, the tempo, how it actually rolls the ball. Let's talk weight and balance, because it sounds way more complicated than just heavy or light.
Oh, it is. The way weight is distributed is super critical for feel and tempo. We look at sort of 3 key weights. First, just the head weight. Simple enough. Heavier head generally feels more stable, right? More inertia.
Yep.
Good if you get a bit quick or jerky,
Okay.
but a lighter head might give you more feedback. You feel mishits more acutely.
Right, so if I'm spraying it across the face, maybe a lighter head tells me that more clearly. But a heavier head might help me hit the middle more just because it resists twisting.
That's a good way to think about it, yeah. Then you got grip weight. Now, the grip isn't just for holding on. Changing the grip weight has a big effect on the overall swing weight. That's the technical term for how heavy the putter feels when you swing it.
Right.
A heavier grip shifts the club's balance point up, closer to your hands.
And that leads into counterbalancing, doesn't it? I hear that term everywhere now. What's that actually doing for the golfer?
So when you add weight up top, near the hands, either a heavier grip or weight insert under the grip that's counterbalancing. The main idea is to quiet down your hands during the stroke. By shifting that balance point up, it makes the putter head feel relatively lighter during the swing, even if the total weight is higher. This encourages a more stable pendulum motion driven by the bigger muscles, shoulders, and torso, rather than letting the hands get too active and flip the putter head. It feels more stable, less flippy.
Okay, that makes total sense. Quieting the small muscles.
Yeah.
So we've got weight sorted for stability and tempo, but maybe the most fascinating part of fitting is matching the putter's balance to your stroke type. We're talking about how the putter naturally wants to rotate, right? Matching that to your arc.
Absolutely fundamental. Okay, so if you have a stroke with a noticeable arc, meaning the putter swings inside the line, back to square, then back inside on the follow-through.
Which is most people, right?
Yeah, a lot of golfers have some arc. For them, you generally want a putter with toe hang. If you balance the shaft on your finger, the toe of the putter will hang down, pointing towards the ground to some degree. This means the face naturally wants to rotate open on the backswing and close through impact, matching that arcsing path. The putter flows with the arc.
Okay. And the opposite would be if you're really trying for that straight back, straight through kind of robotic stroke.
Exactly. If your goal is minimal face rotation, a square-to-square path, then you'd look for a face-balanced putter. Balance that one on your finger, and the face points straight up towards the sky. It's designed to resist rotation. It helps keep the face square if your path is straight.
Right. But then the sources mention this, like newer category that sounds pretty amazing, torque balance putters. This sounds like some next-level engineering where the putter face just stays square.
It's a really interesting development, yeah.
Right.
A potential game changer, especially for players who fight face control, or, let's be honest, struggle with the yips. See, even face-balanced putters have some inherent torque. They want to rotate slightly unless your hands control them perfectly. Torque balance designs, you see this with brands like LAB Golf, some Evro models, directed force, they're engineered so the face naturally wants to stay square to the path throughout the stroke. There's essentially no twisting force or torque trying to open or close it.
Whoa. So the putter itself is basically taking face rotation out of the equation. It does the squaring work for you. That sounds incredible under pressure.
It can be, yeah. It aims to remove one major variable that golfers have to time perfectly. And, we can't cover all 16 equipment factors listed, but we should quickly mention a few others that matter. Lie angle, that's huge for aim. Is the putter sitting flat or is the toe up or heel up? That affects where the face is pointing. Hosel design like a plumber's neck versus a slant neck or center shaft that changes the toe hang and how the putter looks at address. And even the face insert or milling that impacts the feel, the sound, and potentially how quickly the ball starts rolling.
That's a ton of detail just on the club itself. But like you said, the best club won't work if the person using it isn't set up well. So let's pivot to the biomechanics, the human side of the equation. What setup factors need to be right for consistency?
It really starts at the basics, posture and eye position, where your eyes are relative to the ball and the target line is fundamental for aim. If your eyes are, say, way inside the ball, the hole looks like it's further right than it is. Too far outside, it looks left. Your brain will subconsciously make you adjust your aim incorrectly.
Okay, that makes sense. Visual alignment. What about this one that sounds really technical? The forearm to shaft plane. What's that mean for, regular golfers?
It sounds complex, but the concept is pretty simple. Imagine a line running down your forearms. You want that line to be roughly parallel or on the same angle as the putter shaft at address. Because when those angles match, it puts your arms, wrists, and the club into a more unified structure. It encourages the stroke to be powered by the rotation of your shoulders and torso, the big muscles. If there's a big difference in those angles, say your hands are really high or really low relative to your elbows, it creates leverage points. And that makes it easier for your wrists to break down or your hands to manipulate the face through impact.
Gotcha. So matching that plane is about taking the small, twitchy muscles out of it as much as possible.
Exactly. Minimize manipulation. And then there's the absolute most basic thing. Distance from the ball. Seems obvious, right? But being a consistent distance from the ball every single time is crucial for balance, for setup repeatability, and for hitting the sweet spot. If you creep closer one time, further away the next, your eye line changes, your stroke arc might change, your impact point. Consistency goes out the window. It starts with a repeatable setup.
Okay, so we've built the system. The right club matched to the player, and the player is set up consistently. Now, for the moment of truth, the numbers. The performance metrics that actually measure success. The stuff that high-speed cameras and launch monitors like Puddle Eyes or Quintic capture. Let's talk about the single most critical number for just hitting your start line.
That has to be face angle at impact, no question. It accounts for, well, the vast majority of where the ball starts its journey. And the data here is, frankly, pretty mind-blowing. To consistently make putts from mid-range, let's say 10 to 15 feet, your face angle when you strike the ball must be within plus or minus 1 degree of your target line. 1 degree.
Wait, hang on. 1 degree. That seems impossibly small.
Yeah.
What does 1 degree of error actually look like from, say, 15 feet?
From 15 feet, being off by just 1 degree means the ball misses the edge of the hole. Completely misses. It just shows you how incredibly precise putting needs to be. And most amateurs, their face angle might vary by 3, 4, even 5 degrees from putt to putt, or even within the same stroke sometimes. That's why putts scatter left and right.
That really highlights why things like torque-balanced putters can be so beneficial if the club itself helps you get closer to that zero face angle relative to pass.
It gives you a fighting chance, yeah. It reduces the burden on your hands to be perfectly square every single time. Okay, so that's direction. Beyond that, we look at the vertical aspect, how the ball comes off the face vertically. That means launch angle and true roll point.
Right, and the sources were specific here. Optimal launch angle between 0.75 degrees and 2.5 degrees. Why that specific window?
So remember, we need some lift to get the ball out of its depression. Below 0.75 degrees, you're likely driving the ball slightly downwards into the turf. Too much bounce, too much skid, poor distance control.
Okay.
Above 2.5 degrees, you're popping it up too much. It launches high, then skids for a long time before it grabs the green and starts rolling purely. Again, inconsistent speed and maybe even direction. That 0.75 to 2.5 degree window is the sweet spot for getting the ball up and onto the surface smoothly.
And once it launches, you want it to achieve true roll as fast as possible, right?
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Absolutely. True roll point is just the spot down the line where the ball stops any skidding or hopping and transitions into a pure end-over-end roll, like a perfect wheel. The sooner that happens, ideally within, say, the first 10 to 15 inches of the putt, the more predictable your speed and line will be over the entire distance.
Makes sense. And just quickly, to round out the key metrics, what else do these systems measure that helps diagnose consistency issues?
Well, they look at face rotation speed. Ideally, you want that to be pretty low, maybe under 15 degrees per second. High rotation often means too much hand action. Impact location is huge. Hitting it even slightly off-center, towards the toe or heel, dramatically affects distance and direction, much more than on a driver because the head is smaller and less forgiving. And they also measure shaft lean at impact. Because if you lean the shaft way forward or way back when you hit it, that changes the dynamic the actual loft delivered to the ball. You might have a 3-degree putter, but if you have a massive forward press, you might only present 1 degree of loft at impact. That affects your launch angle.
It really all connects back, doesn't it? Back to those initial fundamentals like loft. Okay, so we've unpacked, 28 different variables here? Across the club, your setup, the actual data, the big message seems crystal clear. If putting feels like a struggle, if it's inconsistent, if it just feels awkward, it's really, really likely your putter isn't matched to you. It's probably fighting you.
That's the core takeaway. Proper putter fitting is about building this synchronized system. You adjust all these variables, loft, length, weight, balance, lie, to complement your natural tendencies. It's not about forcing a perfect stroke. It's about giving you equipment that makes a simple, repeatable motion easier to achieve. Optimize the system, and you instantly give yourself a better chance to make more putts, especially the ones that really count.
Right. So here's something to chew on, the final thought for you listening. We learned today that even top players sometimes neglect the basics, like knowing their putter's actual loft. If you walked out to the practice green right now with your current putter, would you have any idea if its launch angle is in that optimal zone, that 0.75 to 2.5 degrees? Or is figuring that one simple number out the very first step you need to take on your own deep dive into finally lowering your scores?